Happy Tuesday, everyone, and welcome to my vlog. So before you ask, the Halo game was an unqualified success. For those of you who didn't tune in yesterday, I ran a one-shot Savage Worlds Halo game for my group last night, and we had a really good time with it. I just kind of came up with a scenario that sounded like something that would work well in a Halo game, and the players played Spartans, and I got to play some Covenant goons that they messed with, and got to do some role playing with, role playing, which you don't normally get, obviously, in the video game. After the discussion we had yesterday, I had a couple people asking about Kickstarter. I thought I'd go ahead and take a moment to address that, because I've mentioned it a lot on the show, and I've probably actually talked about this on the show as well, but the question was whether or not it was very reliable, because it's quickly becoming a very popular model for anybody. Like I said, Green Ronin, a company that has been producing gaming material since its inception in, I think, year 2000. They actually put out the first 3rd edition D&D adventure module. They put out an adventure the same time that the 3rd edition core book came out, using the open gaming license, the D20 license and whatnot. And they've been around ever since then, so they're an established company. They now have their own brands. If you've ever played Mutants and Masterminds, that's a Green Ronin product. They now produce the Dragon Age tabletop RPG, which I haven't got my hands on, but I understand it's really cool. And one of my absolute favorite settings ever for Dungeons & Dragons, they produce Freeport, which they are currently doing a Kickstarter for. I mentioned it yesterday briefly. A Freeport book for Pathfinder now. And it's going to be the latest and greatest edition of the setting in a book format. Over 500 pages. Looks like a beautiful book. They're trying to get to 50 grand to make it happen. So they're funding through Kickstarter. So what started a lot as individuals, people just wanting to get their ideas out there, like I am planning to. Although, I'm planning to make a company out of it, but, one step at a time. It has now turned into a tool for other companies, for entities that are already out there producing product, to get their products made that they otherwise wouldn't know that there was the support for, or might not otherwise have the funding for. Like Steve Jackson Games did their Ogre product last year of a Kickstarter. They did a revision of Ogre, if you haven't heard about that. They're working on it right now. I was talking to the COO, name drop, of Phil Reed of Steve Jackson Games last week, and they were dealing with he was dealing with challenges involving Ogre, and getting all the shipments in and getting the game out there. So it's become a very powerful tool. You can't avoid it nowadays. Kickstarter is everywhere. So here's the way it works, if you're not familiar with it. Basically, the first thing you have to understand is there are no guarantees. Now, theoretically, there is a verbal contract. Effectively, you could call it written because it's on the computer, but it's a promise that the individual selling the product or producing the product is making to deliver. So when you go to a Kickstarter page, you'll see information about the Kickstarter all over the page. They usually have an introductory video of some sort that tells you, a lot of them are personal appeals. I think the best ones are mostly personal appeals, which is the person who's producing the product getting on there instead of just some flashy trailer or something for a product. You get a little bit of flash sometimes, and then you also get the person coming on and saying, hey, I'm Joe Blow, I'm just like you, I've got an idea, I'm going to try to make it happen so that you and I can both enjoy it, and I very much appreciate your support. And then there are levels that you can pledge at that give you different promises from the producer about what they're going to deliver you for your efforts. For example, in the Freeport Kickstarter, if you pledge a certain level, you get a PDF copy of the book. If you pledge at a higher level, you get a print copy of the book. And that's like the $80 level, I think. For $100, because books are, nice, full-color hardback books are getting pricey nowadays. For $100, which is what I pledged at, you get a copy of the book and PDFs of all these other products that they add with stretch goals, which are the other element that you'll find in a Kickstarter. When somebody says stretch goal, what they're talking about is, okay, I have put this product up here. If I can raise $50,000, the product will happen. But I'm also going to tell you that if I raise $60,000, we're going to add this and make it a better product, and you'll get that product for pledging. And so a lot of times you'll see people do stuff like this is the book that we're going to put out for $50,000. If we manage to raise $60,000, then it'll be a slightly bigger book. We'll put another 50 pages in it. We'll add better art, or more art. We'll include a poster map of the city. We'll include additional benefits and such. By spreading the word and getting more people to pledge and increasing the total value of the Kickstarter campaign, you typically increase the actual value of the product you get as a backer. So that's basically the engine. I mean, it's going to vary a lot from campaign to campaign. If you go to Kickstarter.com and dig around, they have a pretty decent kind of search, and you sort through their catalog of options. There's a lot of cool stuff out there, and it's not just games. Obviously, there's software, people developing software. I pledged for and helped fund a CD from a violinist last week who does kind of fantasy themed music. That's really beautiful. There's people doing video games, and people doing other kinds of artistic things. Just whatever you can think, crafts, arts and crafts, just whatever you can think of that people come up with. And so it's been a lot of fun to be part of it. But, again, there's no promises. I mean, there are promises, but there's no guarantees. If you pledge and that person takes the money and runs, technically, you might have the legal ground to stand on to take them to court and get your $25 back or whatever. But since it's unlikely to happen, in all likelihood, that person has taken the money and ran. There's not much you can do about that. You have to kind of be comfortable with that going in. Try to pick people who look like they know what they're talking about. Try to pick people you feel like you can trust, people who have experience. I don't want to say stick only with that, because when I put my Kickstarter campaign up, it's going to look a lot like I haven't done anything before, which is effectively true. But I have a strong reason to believe that I will be able to produce the product I promised that I produce. And as a responsible producer, I'm going to do my best to get out there exactly what it is. And more importantly, I'm going to be transparent doing stuff like this, talking about how it's going to happen. So you want to look for people that you feel are that straightforward, that transparent, that honest, that dependable. All you have is your gut in a lot of cases. But do your best to kind of pick the good ones. Don't pledge, in my opinion, don't pledge high dollar amounts for people that you don't feel confident about. And kind of walk into it with an open mind. Think, first and foremost, I'm here to support this creative endeavor. If you're comfortable making the decision to promote this person's art, because, I want to pledge money to this because I'd like to see this happen. Because there have been one or two Kickstarters where I've walked in and pledged what I have just for that reason alone. Not usually high dollar amounts, but just for that reason alone, I want to see this happen. Then I think you'll be satisfied no matter what, at some level. Just be prepared for the fact that there are no guarantees. Kickstarter is a great service, and I hope you'll find the opportunity to take advantage of it. It's not hard to get into. You do need an Amazon account, because they use Amazon payments to process your payment. And here's the other thing, so that you understand what you're doing. When you see something that you'd like to get involved in, you can go ahead and make your pledge, and then it'll sign you over into Amazon, and you will fill things out right then, and set it up so that Amazon payments will remove the money as soon as the Kickstarter ends. But you don't pay a dime until that happens. And up until the hour that happens, up until the minute that happens, as far as I know, you can change your pledge, you can raise it, you can lower it, you can cancel it. Nothing binding you. What happens is the moment the Kickstarter ends, that money is charged to your credit card or however it is you set it up with Amazon. So that's the only thing. That's the only thing you got to be aware of. That's the only risk. So a lot of times, sometimes I'll actually get involved in campaigns at a low dollar amount just so I can get their updates, because they'll send updates to backers, and so I'll know what's going on with that product so I can talk about it on the show or something. So I know that's kind of long and winding explanation, but I thought I'd take a moment to describe it in detail in case you've never been involved in a Kickstarter campaign, because there's definitely a lot of people I know that have never bought into it or even really checked it out much. So feel free to check it out. So if you aren't interested in Kickstarter, I realize that was kind of a dull 8 or 9 minutes for you. So I encourage you to keep an eye on the website this week. Keep an eye on our Facebook page. Be aware of any updates we have coming out, because I'm going to try to get that interview out this week. I'm also going to try and find the opportunity to finish editing on episode 6 of Project Z, our actual play series. So if you are a follower of the AP campaign, make sure you check on us for that. I'm going to try to get that out there before the end of the week as well. And I'll keep you up to date on any of that. I'll try to do another one of these, at least 1 or 2 more of these vlogs this week to get you up to speed, if you will, and let you know what's going on. So if you have any comments, any questions, anything you'd like to say, any names you'd like to call me, just down in the comments section, and I'll go ahead and include any relevant links in the notes here below as well. And I really appreciate you spending a little time with me. Thanks for listening.